Hey everybody, this is Dr. Monica Du. I'm going to be talking today about concussions. Now, concussions are also a very prominent and serious problem that many of our youngsters face, especially those in sports-related activities. But concussions can occur in pretty much anything that can cause a hit or blow or jolt to the head. Any injury that can cause a disturbance in the normal brain function can lead to a concussion, whether it be sports, a fall at home, a fall from a bike or scooter, any of those things can cause it. Now, just for you to know, a concussion is also synonymous with mild traumatic brain injury. So that is a very serious. It can lead to short and long-term deficits. So it's so important to recognize it, and that is one thing that I wanted to get across for sure today for parents, teachers, coaches, anyone involved with children, they need to be able to recognize the signs and symptoms of a concussion or a mild traumatic brain injury. Now, some of the signs and symptoms that are important to be aware of are, of course, brain fogginess after a hit or blow. They just seem off balance. They're not at their baseline function like you would know them to be. They, of course, may have a headache. Some may even feel a little queasy, nauseous. They may be very forgetful. And then, even in some severe instances, they may start to have some vomiting. And you rarely do you have someone lose consciousness. But of course, that's a very severe hit if they ever do lose consciousness. And in that case, they need immediate medical attention. But in the most of our cases, a concussion may lead to these vague symptoms that kind of just persist sometimes for days and even up to a few weeks. They can occur. In some cases, they may even lead our youngsters to have behavior disturbances. They may be more sleepy than usual. They may just have even disturbances in their sleep where they just can't get a good rest at night. So it's so important to see the spectrum that concussions can take, from the mildest of symptoms to the severe. So if you do notice any of these things after someone has had a hit to their head, it's important that you stop any activities that they are currently participating in. For example, if the occurrence happened while they were at a sport event, you got to take them out of play. You got to remove them from play, and they need to be evaluated, because if they do have another hit or head injury, it can lead to a post-concussive syndrome where you are pretty much having very um, difficulty with trying to get back to your baseline in terms of your mental status. And then, most importantly, it can lead to fatality. You know, the brain is a very protected organ, and if it is injured multiple times, it can lead to death. You see? That's why it's so important to be able to recognize the signs and symptoms, and if you see it, to remove that person, remove that child from the play. Now, I know you sports fans out there, you are, very enthusiastic with the game, and you want this to be one of the most spectacular events at each time, but you got to remove that child. It's more important for their life to be taken into account and their well-being than any game. You know, games will come and go, but a life you cannot replace. So please, doesn't matter if it's the champion game, pull them out from the sport and let them have an evaluation, preferably from a physician. If there is someone that is trained in concussion, of course, at the event, have them see them and evaluate them, and no return to play until they are back to their baseline status. And most often, that is not going to be on the same day. They are going to need to get pulled away, evaluated, and then the evaluator, the physician, the concussion specialist can help you all determine when would be the best time to return them to their normal activities, and not even back to the sport. They first need to be gradually returned to their even daily cognitive functions, like even schoolwork. So it's a graduated step of return to play that is suggested. Otherwise, it can lead to long-term issues for them. So definitely remember that. And the American Academy of Pediatrics has also helped us in providing some guidelines that we can use to help our children and students return to play. And it's usually in a 6-phase step process, and it goes pretty much like a ladder. They're going to do minimal light activities and definitely nothing rigorous and physical while they are recuperating. This will even oftentimes involve the teachers' assistants. They need to have some academic modifications where they can even have more time to complete a task or a little bit finer tune work that they can use at home, maybe to kind of get them back on the right track in a slow and gradual process. But no quick return. It has to be in a graduated fashion, and oftentimes we use that nice ladder, a 6-phase step for return. And usually we want the symptoms to be no longer there for at least a 24-hour period before they can move on to the next step. And if they're not able to function at baseline comfortably within the 24-hour period, they have to go back down in the step until they are able to progress forward. So it is so, so, so important. So definitely keep these things in mind. Red flag signs, as always, I always want to share with you. If someone is having a persistent severe headache, they are vomiting, of course, obviously, if they're not at their baseline cognitive mental status, if things just don't look right, we all know, we can feel it in our gut sometimes when something just isn't right. Immediate medical evaluation. Concussions are not diagnosed with head imaging, but in the cases where we see that things are not looking right, red flag signs, we do want to go ahead and get head imaging. But oftentimes, signs and symptoms of a concussion, of course, are not seen on these things. But if there are other dangerous sequelae from the blow to the head, these things, of course, will get picked up on head imaging, and in some cases, we need to do that. So red flag signs that would prompt us to do that are as the above, as I stated, and then if your child is just doesn't seem right, go ahead and call your physician and discuss it with them. But don't hesitate to get the medical help that you need if someone has had a hit to their head, because it can be dangerous. So, all of you all enjoy the sports that the summer will bring, but be safe while we do it. All right, I will see you all soon. Post any questions that you may have, any topics that you want me to cover regarding concussions or any others, and just feel free to subscribe to my YouTube page. That way you can follow me. You can also find me on Twitter, and you all just have an awesome, wonderful day. I'll see you soon.